In the aftermath of last week's House Speaker drama with the Republican Party, we were treated to two standout moments from the Fox propaganda show, The Five, courtesy of that show's right-wing weirdos. One moment was hilarious and true, but the second moment was utterly deranged. But before we unpack all that, if you haven't yet, please hit that like, subscribe, and the alert bell. Okay, folks, I'm technically gaveling in the latest meeting of the unofficial Jessica Tarlov fan club, but I'll warn you that today's video has less to do with her brilliance and her magnificence, even though both of them feature, and more to do with the reactions of her right-wing co-hosts to last week's speaker drama. Now, as a reminder, last week, Jim Jordan, the MAGA Republican, the least effective congressman in Congress, tried and failed to become speaker before, in a closed-door setting, his fellow Republicans said, Jim, you got to throw in the towel. We're done with you, buddy. We got to go in a different direction. And then they all went home for the weekend in despair and defeat, which was glorious. And once again, illustrative of the fact that they can't do anything other than, squabble and engage in petty partisan politics. Now, the first thing I want to show here is the Five's reaction to this, particularly the reaction of Jesse Watters and Jeanine Pirro. So let's watch and enjoy and savor.
And other people wanted to stay over the weekend, and the guy with the bow tie, the short guy, the pro temp or whatever they call him, the temp, the substitute teacher, he's like, no, we're taking the week off, and then they're all jazzed to go on their foreign delegation trips on Friday, and so they don't even care who they have. They just want to go abroad.
Yeah. Go ahead.
The closest person to getting the gavel is the minority leader, Hakeem Jeffries, a Democrat. I mean, I'm convinced Nancy Pelosi must be like cheering and high-fiving all of them. The Republicans have shown themselves to be a bunch of fools, and I am embarrassed for them.
Well said, Judge Jeanine. Well said. The first time she's had a salient point on the Five, and since as long as I can remember. But she's right. And also note what's interesting is, you would think that given that they're right-wing propagandists, that they would be more inclined to try to spin it in a way to downplay the stupidity and incompetence and dysfunction of the GOP. But they're so fed up with it. And also note that neither Jesse Watters nor Jeanine Pirro tried to blame the Democratic Party like Kevin McCarthy and other right-wing propagandists have attempted to do. They recognize this is a failure of the GOP themselves, and it has nothing to do with the Democrats other than it just shows that Democrats are the more serious, more mature, more capable governing party. But this is the second clip I want to play, and it's really gross. It's not hilarious, it's not true, and it does feature initially the brilliance and magnificence of Jessica Tarlov. But again, the real draw here, or the real point I want to make, the real thing I want to draw your attention to, is how her right-wing co-hosts react to the point that she's about to make.
The secret ballot part of this is the most amusing thing. So in front of everybody, 195, 196 Republicans voted for Jim Jordan. And then when they were allowed to actually say what they think, only 86 voted for him, 112 against. Makes me think, obviously, what would have happened with that vote to convict in the impeachments of Donald Trump. But guess what? People don't like being bullied. Ken Buck, the voicemail that was left on the wife of a Republican congressman's phone, Jake Tapper played it yesterday. Abhorrent.
Really?
Jeez.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. You have your people like slamming the Jews out there. A voicemail doesn't seem that bad.
Yeah.
Is that a real thing you just said?
I mean, aren't they big boys? Don't you see what they do in Parliament?
So, and we did a video about this, the fact that it'd be bad enough if it were just Republican congresspeople being threatened by deranged MAGA supporters for not backing Jim Jordan. That would be bad and unacceptable enough. But it was even worse because it was their family members who were also the recipients of threatening voicemails, threatening text messages, etc., and so forth. They didn't sign up. They're not in Congress. They're not voting for or against Jim Jordan. They're simply married or dating or related to the people who do, which is even more disgusting. And note how the Fox propagandists react. Note the limits of their empathy. Well, Jesse Watters does the whataboutism. He says that certain people on the left somewhere are out there, going after the Jews. Therefore, we don't have to care about how Trump-supporting MAGA cultists are leaving threatening voicemails and threatening text messages for, again, the relatives and spouses and whatever, next of kin, of other Republicans, that's okay. And then Jeanine Pirro says, really, like this rhetorical, like, does it matter that spouses are being stalked, harassed, threatened? Does that really matter? Aren't they big boys? Don't they do that in the UK Parliament, she says? As far as I know, that's not a common practice in the UK Parliament to leave threatening texts and voicemails and to harass the family and spouses of people you disagree with. Now, I've watched quite a bit of the UK Parliament, especially when John Bercow was the Speaker of Parliament. And certainly, Parliament can get rowdy, it can get combative. It's less focused or less interested in civility politics than the United States Congress. But again, they don't threaten one another. They don't threaten one another's families. It's just really gross that, especially when you consider their reaction to the first part. So again, they have the fortitude and they have the clarity to understand that the Republican Party is imploding because and in of themselves, like it has nothing to do with the Democrats. So they can be absolutely correct there. And then 2 minutes later, just completely shrug and laugh off the fact that their far-right MAGA supporting fellows are threatening innocent people. Again, threatening any Republican for how they vote, as much as I dislike Republican politicians, that's just gross and unacceptable. But then they took it to the next level with the spouses and family members. It's so strange. And even Jessica Tarlov, who has to work with these people and is presumably, to at least some extent, friends with them, right? And she seems to have some sort of friendly relationship with them at the bare minimum. And she's even grossed out. She's like, God, really? Really? Are those words that really came out of your mouth? Anyway, as long as this sort of like permissive structure exists, not just within the Republican Party's official ranks, but in their surrogates in the media, you're going to continue to see this sort of derangement and extremism where threats continue. They may even escalate because they're not taken seriously. They're not widely condemned. And when they are condemned, it's half-hearted. And then there's like a whataboutism. What about this thing over here? As long as this sort of gross behavior continues, you're going to see and hear the sort of gross behavior that we covered in previous videos, like that threatening voicemail that Jessica Tarlov herself just referenced. I don't see it ending anytime soon.